whatever happens in 10 Downing Street is everyone's right to know about, whether it's a blimmin' party or if it's or if it's the next thing about Brexit or about the next thing that's happening in the UK.
People make fun of me because every time I film something in a video, I'm like, hey, city students, and it's so annoying.
Welcome to the first episode of the Hindsight Podcast,
where we look back to look forward.
I'm Muhsin Mahmood.
And I'm Gesmina.
So in this episode, we're going to be discussing ourselves and kind of introducing what we do, and so that you guys get to know us a little bit more.
Yep.
Gesmina, tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you do? How did you come about to City? What do you do at City?
I'm Gesmina. And I studied international politics and human rights, master's here at City. And I came to the UK about 4 or 5 years ago, and I did my undergrad in psychology at University of Greenwich. And then I took a year gap, went back home to Greece, and then I came back to do my master's here, basically. And then, I came to City, and I'm still here.
Yeah.
You tell me about yourself so everyone knows who you are.
Yeah, so I'm a journalism student, born and raised in London, and I'm looking for a holiday to Greece one day. I wanted to ask you, you're the SU president currently at the moment. How did this come about? What was the process? Why did you want to do it? And then tell me a little bit about how it's been.
There's actually so many people ask me about it, like what made you want to run, why, and so on and so forth. I think since I was at Greenwich, I really wanted to be more involved in just in general within the university, whether that's student union or just bits and bobs. And I wouldn't say I was, but not as much as I wanted to. So when I came here, I said, I'm going to go all in. And I think it's about confidence, right? Like you wouldn't put yourself forward to campaign or just expose yourself in front of a lot of people if you're not confident enough. So I think I just wasn't as confident as I am now. As a postgrad, it's a bit different. Usually undergraduate students run for SU roles. So it's like, scary because you're like, nobody really knows me as a master student. Like you don't have as many connections, I'd say, as an undergraduate. You've been here for 3 years because usually, obviously, you run in your final year to become president to get in the role. And a few things that motivated me. It's been fun because you asked me how it's been so far. Challenging at times, but you learn so much, and you build so much character being in this role. Like it's a lot, and especially speaking to different people from all levels of seniority and students, you just have to really transform yourself all the time. Yeah. So it's been fun and it's been great. But I think they want to know about you as well, not just about me. Yeah. But so he's great. He's done so many things. Tell them about you're running a YouTube channel at the moment. You're great at doing news stuff related.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So just speak about different things and areas that you've been involved. Because this is not your first podcast. This is my first time, basically. Like, to put it simply, I no idea. I just like to talk a lot. Yeah. That's it. But you have experience. Like, you've done this before. So how does it feel for you so far with what you've done? Just, a little bit, because I don't think I know everything that you've done. So I want to know. Yeah,
so a little bit about me. I'm currently a journalism student, and at the moment I've launched a new thing called the Muhsin Lowdown. But I've been doing a little bit of YouTube before. I started YouTube, I think like 2013 and 2014. I was doing...
How old were you?
I was in like year 5 when I first started my YouTube channel. I remember I used to do a thing where I would live stream to my primary school friends. And this is before, nowadays we have Instagram Live. It's so easy to go live. But before, there was a thing where you had to go on YouTube, set up a live stream. You have a whole platform system and you're broadcasting live. And so it was really, really complicated. But I used to host a show to my primary school friends. I was like a 10-year-old kid, and I had different stuff. I had one where I had like a challenge where I'd fit as many crisps I could in my mouth, or I'd do like FIFA, I'd do it live. And I just found this, fascination and this interest for kind of
pranks as well. Back in the day, I did. It was such a big thing.
I did prank calls. I did like these Indian prank calls where I'm Bengali, but apparently I can do a decent Indian accent. So I used to, and prank calls were big.
Don't do it now, you'll get cancelled.
I'm literally get cancelled. I'm sorry to anyone that I offend, honestly. But no, just purely for the sake of humor. There was a guy called On Age Pranks, and he used to do prank calls, and I got inspiration from him. I did prank calls, things I hate about school, things that annoy me, and I did that kind of stuff on YouTube. And then I kind of got into presenting and doing the news and journalism, and that's kind of how my story started. But I do relate with you a lot on the idea of using your voice for change. And before I got into my journalism, I also spent some time as the deputy youth mayor for Tower Hamlets. So I ran a campaign, a bit like Jess campaign, say yes to Jess.
The cringe.
Yeah, so before you became the SU president, you ran a campaign yourself. Tell me a little bit about that.
What campaign? What do you
say
mean?
Yes to Jess. That whole campaign.
That
Gosh,
campaign
she's got her own campaign.
Oh my God, yeah. No, that was fun. First time I ran a campaign. Was it the first time for you for the youth?
For when I was the young mayor, like
young
the
mayor,
deputy youth mayor, deputy young mayor. So that's the first time I ran a campaign as well. So
oh my God, that's crazy. First time for me at 24, basically.
Yeah.
So you were younger, but it was fun. But to be honest, I like being creative, so it wasn't something I struggled with a lot. It was really fun for me to do it. I think where I struggled was just reaching out to people and saying, vote for me. Yeah, and why? Why should we vote for you, really? Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to change? And and a lot of competition. During elections, there's a lot of
It's really competitive.
It's really competitive, yeah. So you've got to keep up with that as well. And while being a student and studying, it's like, oh my God. But when it's done, you get a lot out of it. Even if you don't get in, even if you don't get in the role and you don't get voted, it's that journey that you go through, speaking to so many students, just being out there, the confidence that you built. Oh my God, it's crazy.
It's such a personal journey.
Exactly.
Tell me a little bit about that personal journey, because obviously you mentioned earlier that you came in new because you did your undergrad at Greenwich, and so you're coming into City University.
I know.
You're now coming in as an ambassador representing City University, and you're now positioned as the president. And so you're coming into a new university, and suddenly you're the face for it, especially for students. You're kind of in a vulnerable position too. Tell me a little bit about that, because now everyone's looking to you, but you're coming in new. So how does that feel?
Yeah, no, it's great. It didn't scare me at all because, like you said, I already had the background of a different university. So I think that was quite a plus for me to understand and know. And that's where the confidence comes in that I just said. I wasn't confident to run back then because I just think I wasn't as informed coming in as a international student, you can say, EU student, and the knowledge wasn't there. Now I have the knowledge and a lot more skills compared to when I started. So it wasn't scary, actually quite the opposite. I was so excited to be that ambassador, and especially when I came in and I saw, okay, there's so many areas to improve and do better, so I might as well just go straight in. And that's when I started slow student rep, and then representing the schools, and then I ran for SU president.
So you do a few roles before you did SU president? Oh, I didn't know that. What's the roles that you did before? I
was representing the students in my course. So if there's any issues, let's say an issue that I faced, that we all faced, was marking delays. So we sent our assessments, obviously, and on that period of exams and assessment period, and then it didn't come within the time frame that
they promised.
They promised, yeah. So I had to contact people and just see what is happening. So issues like that, and then on the course level, on the school level, you represent the whole school. So if there's more like wider issues basically, and then it just goes up and up. And SU president is for literally like 20 something thousand students, but it's challenging at times. Like, you know, you can't, there's times where it feels like you can't represent 20 something students, but you want to be there to represent as many as you can and be there for all of them no matter what. Like, yeah.
But it's also like really, there's a pressure as well, because you're not going to be able to make everyone happy, and that's impossible. Whether you're in any position of presidency or even just management, there are going to be some people that are upset. And I think it's important that city students at least recognize that there are things that needs to be changed, and not everything can be changed overnight. Rome wasn't built overnight.
Yeah, that's the thing. And when it comes to universities, there's a lot of bureaucracy, you know, and when you want to pass something, it has to pass through so many people layers, and committees. It's like, oh my God, like, can you not get this done now? And when students approach, it's like, we want this now. And it's like, I honestly, if I could do it, I'd do it.
It's a snap of the finger, you would make it happen.
Yeah, but it's challenging. But again, it builds a lot of character in you, and you learn so much. I didn't know when I was a student, I was so demanding of things, and I wanted things now, like students want. And now having the knowledge and the background and seeing having the insight of so many things, it's like, well, actually it's not really that easy, but there is progress on different areas, but it's just sometimes slow.
I get
and
that.
It's natural. So no, it's been fun. I don't regret anything, but it's something that all the student union officers relate to is they feel that they haven't done enough. And you feel that way because you want to do so much, but then there's so much you can do and time allows you. So it's like, yeah.
do that.
Hey, city students. People make fun of me because every time I film something in a video, I'm like, hey, city students. And it's so annoying. It's like, I don't even like realize that I do
No, but it's your personality. And I think that's what people resonate most with, is because you're coming in not as boring and bland. You're coming in with your personality and you're being unapologetic about it. You've come in and you're like, you know what, I'm not gonna shy away from being myself. And this is a personal experience.
It's kind of corny though, isn't it?
No,
I can be corny sometimes.
Maybe just a little bit. just a little bit. Just a tiny little bit.
Normal.
But yeah, so tell me about your favorite moment.
I think the one thing when I was campaigning and I wanted to change was create more of a sense of community and engage a lot more with students. It just felt, even as a postgraduate, when I came in, and usually master students don't really care, they just come in, they want to study and then go and get their degree. For me, it was, no, I actually want to, I have the confidence now and I want to get involved in different areas and learn a lot more than I did in my undergrad. So I wanted to build a community and get people from all backgrounds together and just talk. My favorite moment was the cultural festival event that I did in November. I loved that because I literally reached out to different societies and I said, come in with your traditional food, clothing, music, anything from your country, and just come and celebrate it with all the students. And it was so successful and everyone had such a great time. And seeing that, seeing what you created and for it to be good and for students to appreciate it and to enjoy it is something that I really value, and saw that, oh my God, like everyone wants to feel a part of a community and everyone wants to be with around each other and learn from each other. So that was great. We literally danced, ate different food, and I loved it, every single minute.
I love that. It almost summarizes London in one place.
I don't know.
I wasn't there. But I love that.
It. Yeah, it does. It does summarize London because it's so diverse, and that's the main reason I came here. I could have been to any other university in the world, but that was the main reason for me, at least, to come and be in a diverse
so immersed
culture. Exactly. And I love culture, so. Yeah, being a part of it, it felt so good. So yeah, I think that was one of my proudest moments, because I don't think I've created an event before, not like that. So yeah, so in terms of yourself, I still want to ask and go back to what you said. How did you feel starting? So was it scary? Because I talked about my thing in terms of confidence and all of it. Like, how do you get there? And looking back, how does it feel to look back at it on that journey and who you are now? Because we as humans tend to not do that. We usually compare ourselves to other people,
but not our previous selves.
Not
right?
our previous selves. So I'm really curious to know how that journey felt for you, because we're quite different. Like I'm so different in terms of my background. You're different in terms of your background. This is my first time doing a podcast, but for you, you're more familiar with it. So I'm just curious, how was that journey for you?
Yeah, you know what's really interesting is that I actually never thought I would be a journalist, or at least try to be a journalist, and I actually ruled it out. If you ask me 2 years ago, I actually didn't want to be a journalist, even though everything I was doing was leading up to it, which is kind of crazy because I've been doing, like you mentioned, podcasting for a little while now, and I had some experience. I was sitting in my bedroom and it was 3 a.m. and I was looking for opportunities in London because I really wanted to get involved, really wanted to get active in something, but I never felt like there was a space. I come from East London in Tower Hamlets, and there is a taboo around those that get into the media industry, that get into media, especially those that are from, say, South Asian backgrounds, because there's a lack of representation of people like us. It's kind of uncommon to see people like us in those sort of positions. And so what I was grappling with myself when I was, 14, 15 was thinking about getting into the media industry, but not having a role model or a person in mind of how I can get there. And so I was kind of a bit nervous, and I did doubt myself of whether I could do it. But I was sitting one day and I was on my laptop, it's 3 a.m. and I literally wrote opportunities in London and then wrote podcasting, and I was scrolling through and I think I went to like page 4, and then I saw podcasting, youth rising, looking for presenters, that sort of thing. And I literally applied for it, and I just put my name down, and I didn't know who they were, I didn't know what was happening, but I just put my name down. I just signed up on a Google form, and then lo and behold, a week later I got an email saying you're invited to come into this studio with other young people, and your role will be decided. And I came in and they said to me, you're going to be the presenter. And I'm like, no freaking way, that literally came about just from me being there on my laptop. And I think it just goes to show, like, when you hunt for opportunities and you look for those opportunities, they can come to you. They're not going to fall in your lap, but you have to chase them. And that's kind of how it came about.
Were you a student?
Yeah, I was 15. Like I was.
Student in journalism. You were not. It was not when you started uni.
No. I was in year 11. I think I still hadn't done my GCSEs at that point. So.
Wow! Look at this guy. Like, he's out there. Okay.
I'm not out there. But my first journey actually into podcasting was, I wanted to create a podcast, and I didn't have any guests that I knew. And this goes to show you have to use what you have around you. So I didn't have any guests, and we were very lucky to have this podcast mic and this podcast space. But when I first started out, I literally had a broken iPhone 6. It was smashed, and I didn't have any guests. So I was in school, and so I asked my secondary school teachers, would you like to be on a podcast? And they were like,
cute,
and I went to five of my teachers, and I literally gave up my lunch break as a little kid, and I had my little broken iPhone 6, and I sat there in a room and we recorded an episode, and I did like 5 episodes, and you can hear it now. It's called the Story Behind series, where we look at the story behind teachers and their personal lives rather than just them as teachers. And it came from that, and then slowly that grew, and then I did the NCS role, and now I'm doing stuff like this. So it kind of has a start.
That's crazy. So how were you doing all of that but thinking you're not going to end up in where you are at the moment, like in journalism and media? And I just don't understand how, like, you didn't see it when you were doing it. Or was it more like, oh, this is a hobby, but I'm gonna get like a real job, I guess?
Yeah,
because there's a taboo, right?
Exactly.
When it comes, especially for certain families, I don't know your
in the South Asian background,
but like, even in my background, it's like
the media industry. That's what I say. There's a taboo around the media industry where it's not seen as a real job. And I think nowadays the taboo is starting to become addressed, and we're starting to see people take on these media industry roles, and it's taken seriously. But honestly, 5-6 years ago, getting into media industry, my mum thought I was going into like Hollywood or something like that. Like literally, like like the media industry is so big and there's so many different roles. All I knew was that I wanted to get into the media industry, but I didn't realize what I was doing was journalism. And then before I did my degree, I was like, I think I want to study media studies, or I want to get into the media industry. Maybe I'll get into production. Maybe I'll work on a film or a documentary. And then I realized that all of this time, particularly during lockdown when I was explaining the news simply, I was doing journalism, but I just wasn't calling myself a journalist. But now, having realized what I do and realizing that I enjoy it, I'm now getting into the industry knowing that I'm a journalist, and I'm trying to pursue that.
So when it comes to yourself, so you're doing so many things and you're so involved in all of it. Is there something that you want personally to advocate for through journalism and through, whether that's podcasts or just media? Because I know that journalists, a lot of them try to be apolitical, but deep down I know they can be biased, and I know that they choose sort of a side, but even then they try not to. So what is your opinion on that, and also yourself?
Trust me, I've got so many opinions. When the news comes out, I'm literally thinking 101 things, but I think the most important thing is to let audiences pick for themselves. I don't want to brainwash people or give them a certain narrative. I will present both sides of the argument, and I think we're taught generally as journalists to park our opinions to one side. But what I will do is, if I give my opinion, I'll state very clearly, this is my opinion. I'll give the story, and then I say, this is two sides of the argument, and then this is my opinion. I think that's the most important thing. As long as people know clearly that that's how I feel, and not that this is what happened. So when I report on something, I'll be unbiased, but then when I give my opinion, I'll give you what I think. And I think people want to hear a person's opinion on something. So that's kind of how I do it.
Yeah. And do you think they want that with journalists when it comes to, let's say, if we speak about, for example, BBC, right? There's been leaks and stories where they're not supposed to be political, but they've said something
clearly. There's so much bias,
and they get so much,
slack for it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's it's
impossible to be completely neutral. I don't think even just the story you decide to report on is already biased. Think about how many things are happening in the world, and think about so much that's going on, and then you decide, someone in the newsroom decides, okay, these 5 stories are what we're going to tell the UK about. That's already biased. You're picking the stories, so there's always going to be bias everywhere. But as long as you report on it fairly, hear both sides of the argument, and then for me, at least, if I give my opinion but say that it's my opinion clearly, then I think that's fair enough, right?
And so it's a really good way of presenting things, presenting both sides of an argument and then giving your opinion.
Exactly. And my thing is always about let's make news as accessible as possible. Let everyone be able to access the stories. Let's not gatekeep and try and make it just only people that have so much knowledge be able to know about what's happening in politics. Whatever happens in 10 Downing Street is everyone's right to know about, whether it's a blimmin' party or if it's or if it's the next thing about Brexit or about the next thing that's happening in the UK. Every single flipping person should know about what's happening.
So basically that's your passion, you want to talk about politics and
the news and the current affairs, but make sure everyone can understand it. It's why should some random dude that's 50 years old, middle class, white be able to know about things?
Yeah, I agree with you. Not a 50-year-old white old man should have access to
all the news, and that's it.
Not access to, because everyone has, but understand it because of different privileges and different different
upbringing, privileges,
upbringing and everything. So you are right, and I love what you're doing and how you do it, because from what I understand, what you're trying to do is inform people, but change the language in a way where it's simplified and they are informed and aware of what's happening in the world, and especially in politics, because you said politics literally, change everything that happens in the world and how it happens. So it's definitely great what you're doing, and I can't wait to literally speak about a lot more topics on this podcast, whether that's news,
what's happening on campus.
Definitely students, hot topics and conversations at City.
We've got a lot to talk about.
And
next time it's going to be with guests as well.
We can't fit it all in one episode, so I really look forward to it and have a great host. So
thank you so much for listening. Remember, you guys can listen to all of the episodes on all streaming platforms. Make sure you guys like, comment and subscribe.